Transition broke.
It's like, I was like, we're getting the count, and then all of a sudden it's like,
it turned into a
went from this to like a what? And I was just like, I was looking at him like, Chris and I joke about how we're not like, I was like, because James goes, all right, standing by, and I'm like, okay, standing, and Chris is like sitting, and then that's when James's hand switched, and we're just like, did the joke just not, like, it wasn't supposed to be this big killer joke.
Yeah,
but
the
did
transition
it
just
just
didn't
land so
play. Like, it just does that sometimes. It just doesn't want to play. It doesn't play nicely with others.
Today is a day of technical problems. I mean, we're starting about 20 minutes late because James and I spent probably, 45 minutes trying to figure out a different technical problem for the after show stream.
Yeah.
Where, for some odd reason, James can see that my computer is doing something, but it's not actually getting the video. And we don't know why. So we spent... I know we were in the middle of it when you got in, but we'd been working on it, I want to say, at least 20, 25 minutes by that point.
Jesus.
Just trying to figure out what was wrong.
Yeah.
So there should be and probably will be an after-show stream of Jedi Fallen Order, but there might not be a stream of Jedi Fallen Order.
There'll be a stream, probably. We won't see Logan. I'm so sorry.
Yeah, that might be either a plus or a bigger plus. Depends on your point of view.
True.
So, how have you been, Chris?
Good. Just tired, busy. How's the holidays? Holidays good?
I know, like the holidays, for my work, this is the moment where everything is either we need to get it out like super, super, super fast because all of a sudden everyone realizes, oh crap, it's the end of the year.
Yeah.
Or it's all like, it's the end of the year, we'll have to push it to January.
Right.
So I'm in this weird mix of where I'll either I'll have moments of where I'm like, okay, gotta get this done, and then I'll have other moments where I'm like, I can take my time, I can work on this, I can finesse and fine tune. And then there was like, on Friday. Friday is typically the quietest day I have in the office, and it was probably my busiest day last week.
Wow.
Just because a bunch of stuff was starting to hit. We were getting all of the stuff in, and I needed to have it all prepped for tomorrow.
Right.
So it wasn't like I could just sit there and be like, oh, whatever. It was just like,
Holiday,
I gotta prep everything. Otherwise, I'm gonna be like running like behind the moment I sit down on Monday. So
holidays, man, they get wonky,
but
they change things up.
Yeah, still looking forward to it. We're so close to like my reason to be excited for the season.
Right.
With Star Wars in a couple weeks, but
exciting.
Yeah. No, so let's kind of go into, because we've started to do this a little more regularly, especially because of the launch of Disney Plus, bringing a bunch of older movies that we like, but kind of what have you been watching, Chris? Or even playing? What are you up to?
Caught up on all of the Disney Plus stuff. So Imagineering Story, Mandalorian, Jeff Goldblum, High School Musical. Caught up on all that stuff. I think we talked about it earlier. I watched Mighty Ducks 2 because that's the best Mighty Ducks.
Yeah.
But it wasn't on Disney Plus.
But it's on
Disney
the
Plus.
thing. Like, and this is the thing we were talking about, because I hadn't watched it through Disney Plus, but I had been going through it to find a movie to watch, and happened to see Mighty Ducks D2, D3. They're all three listed, and
so like the frustrating thing about Disney Plus is like they list all of these movies that are coming, because a lot of them, and it's understandable because a lot of them have deals still with Netflix or with other streaming services where those movies live. So they're not allowed to pull them off and onto Disney Plus for a period of time. But the problem is that like a lot of them are pretty far away. So like Mighty Ducks 2 is not coming to Disney Plus until 2021, but it's still on there.
It just listed on the service.
It just has the date of like not coming till January 1st, 2021, which is like, okay, cool. It doesn't need to be on here right now.
Yeah.
But okay. Great. And there's a lot of movies on there like that where the dates are pretty far off. And it's slightly irritating.
It's like you shouldn't be telling me a movie is coming soon when it's 2 years away.
Right. And then like it's just concerning that they were like, it's coming soon.
Like I feel like it's a 3-month thing. Like you can do it 3 months out.
Right.
But if you're doing it 2 years out, that's just... It's like it's content padding. I hope that's not the reason they're doing it. but it definitely reads as like, oh, look at all the stuff you can get through Disney Plus.
Yeah.
And then it's not cool.
Yeah. Not the best. What you?
Well, first off, I've been watching Imagineering Story, and I think this is a moment where you brought it up, but holy crap, that show is so good to watch.
Yeah, there's only one episode left, which makes me sad. But I mean,
I have a feeling it's going to be all about the Galaxy's Edge.
Well, it's Galaxy's Edge, Disney Shanghai.
Yeah.
And, or Shanghai Disney and the World of Avatar. So, like, those are, like, their three major projects. Bob Iger's always talked about how even above all of the acquisitions that he's made, the biggest risk to him and the most important thing to him for his legacy and sort of what he's done for Disney, or what Disney's done over his tenure as CEO, has been Shanghai Disney. And right now it's considered by a lot of people to be the best park. So there's a ton of stuff about how that worked, and like, because it is a sensitive situation to bring a park to Disneyland or to Shanghai.
Yeah, there's especially with China. Like all the politics, especially like already been kind of weird when they started it, but like right now in particular, there's a lot of politics. Again,
like it's just a weird. When Iger first approached it, and like it took a lot of negotiating to even get that done, and then plus the park, if you're gonna do it, the park has to hit, and it has to do really, really well, which is fantastic. I always said, it's a big deal when like exclusive park rides make it over to the other parks. So like the Tron ride that they feature it's like the main feature at Shanghai Disney is coming to Disneyland and Disney World later, I think this year or next year. Like when they start bringing over those exclusive rides to other parks or like your main park,
that's when you know like
this ride's special and something's a big deal. So, Yeah,
no, Imagineering Story, if you haven't watched it yet, it's definitely worth the watch. I have been on a weird... I've actually been on a Stargate kick, of all things. Like, I've just had Stargate SG-1 playing in the background.
Why?
No idea. I literally just randomly loaded it up a couple weeks ago, and I've just been having it play in the background when I'm working on something.
Right.
So it's not like I'm actively watching it, but it's like whenever I'm like, okay, I need something on, and I'm not like looking for something specific.
Right.
I'm just like, I'm looking for something just to have it on in the background, and it's been SG-1. But I also watched last night Muppet Treasure Island. I freaking love that movie. The Muppets are good. I finally got caught up in all the Muppet movies because I hadn't seen Muppet Most Wanted, so I watched that I think a week ago.
There you go.
But yeah, speaking of playing though, I've been playing Frostpunk.
Okay.
Which is, if you're not familiar with it, it's the same people who did This War's Mine, which is this kind of dark adventure game.
Right.
Similarly dark. This is like more of a city base builder, but it's about like an Ice Age apocalypse, and
there you go.
It's fun. I'm enjoying it. It's bloody hard. It's similar to like Banished, where Banished, one thing could go wrong and your entire city can get wiped.
Right.
This is very similar, where it's like if you aren't managing what you're building, how you're building it, the order it's done, and like actually managing what's going on, which in a lot of city building games you can very quickly just be like, throw everything down and then it'll eventually just take care of itself if you run into a problem.
Right.
This is one of those games where it's like, no, if you over expand too quickly, you will be the problem.
Right.
So it's kind of nice, and it means I've started and restarted that game multiple times because I keep figuring things out, and then it's like, okay, this is where I did wrong last time and why I was going to die in 5 minutes, so let me restart and like go from there. So I haven't even gone through their first scenario yet because I keep going back and like trying to improve my gameplay. But that's what I've been doing.
Yeah, I know we talked about it a little earlier, but I did over the holiday weekend because Jenny had family in town, so she was busy doing stuff with Samantha. So I was like kind of bored. So I ran over to a Redbox and grabbed Jedi Fallen Order, and I was like, I'm gonna just speed through this as quickly as possible.
And you're like, and the story is fantastic. Meanwhile,
yeah, the story is absolutely fantastic. But like, that game is not crazy long if you just kind of beeline your way through it.
Meanwhile, I haven't played it since I streamed it 3 weeks ago.
Which again, like, I would highly recommend taking your time with that game. I just had limited time to do it, so I needed to rush through it. But I think the strength of that game is its atmosphere, and the strength of it is the exploration parts of it. I don't necessarily think to me it is explained this to someone the other day. It's the greatest hits of this generation's third-person action games. So it's like Dark Souls combat with Uncharted exploration, with some God of War and Metroid backtracking. Like it is sort of the best hits, the greatest hits of this generation, but none of them done to the great extent that it could be.
Yeah, it's the
Jack of all trades, master of none
thing.
But I feel like God of War did all of this stuff better. And so it's the idea of like, if this was up to the level of polish and the level of like, if it was fine-tuned and tightened up just a little bit more to where God of War was, I think this would be one of the greatest games of the generation.
What do you think would need to be fine-tuned? Is it combat? Is it story? Is it narrative?
Story's not the problem. Narrative's not the problem. It's just like exploration elements of it. It's the a little bit of monotony. The combat isn't as great as Dark Souls. Like when you do Dark Souls combat, it needs to be spot on because Dark Souls combat is so specifically challenging, and it's challenging in a way where it's like, okay, I know what I did wrong, or it's not difficult because the game is difficult. It's difficult because I'm not playing it right. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
But in Jedi Fallen Order, it is the kind of thing of like, oh, this is just difficult to read, or this is difficult to account for, and something like that, where you're whoa,
there we go. Sorry,
all good. So it's the idea of like, oh, this enemy killed me because this is just really hard to look at, rather than it is I know it's coming and I made a mistake. So it makes it a little more frustrating.
Okay.
I don't think it's necessarily, it doesn't flow as well as Dark Souls does either.
Is this a case of where they needed a bit more time to refine and polish,
I don't
or do
know.
you think
I think this is their first shot at it, and I think like a sequel would be better. So I'm looking forward to that when they eventually do that. But this was a good first outing, like a great first outing. But yeah. I don't think they were. I think they they felt like they got a B in all their tests, right? And it's like, okay, cool. Like that doesn't make a bad game by any stretch. It's a great game.
Well, it's like I told you, the reason I hadn't played it wasn't because I didn't want to. It's like the weekend after, when I was thinking I would have time to play, I was like under the weather. Right. So I just was like, I'm too tired to play a game that requires me to pay close attention. So I played like a game that I was already fairly familiar with, so I could kind of just passively play.
Right.
And then I got Frostpunk during the autumn sale on Steam, so I intended to play Jedi Fallen Order, but instead I fell into Frostpunk, and then I sat there and went, you know what? I'm already putting time into Frostpunk. I haven't played Jedi in 2 weeks. I might as well just pick up where I left off in the stream, and then go from there. But yeah, no, it's...
But yeah, it's great. It's a great story. Great game. I don't know how it's going to do... It's going to do pretty well Game Awards-wise. I don't think this year's games were as strong as last year's.
But we'll get into that here in a bit.
Yeah.
So let's move on into movies, James.
Whoop, whoop.
So we get to go into weird history stuff going on. So I don't know if you caught this. This was something that caught a bit of attention in the trades, but I don't think it got attention outside of the trades.
I know briefly like a TLDR version of it. I don't know the full.
Yeah, so to give everyone a bit of a historical background, the United States v. Paramount Studios is a 1948 Supreme Court ruling that said film studios couldn't do block booking, where in block booking the way that would work is Disney has Star Wars. If you want to play Star Wars, you also have to buy all of the movies that Disney sells, and they would typically package for like a big movie like Star Wars. If they were looking at a movie going, man, we don't think Dumbo's going to do really well, they would make you buy Dumbo to get Star Wars.
Well, that's what happened with the original Star Wars.
Yes, there were cases where block booking has happened,
right.
But what would typically happen with block booking is it wouldn't just be like one movie. It would be, they would try to book out everything.
Right. Well,
so it's like, you want this one movie, you have to get these 5 movies. It was be like if Disney had 5 Dumbo, Dumbo 2, Dumbo the Third, God, why are they making Dumbos, and Star Wars, they would make you buy the other 4 Dumbos to get Star Wars.
Well, remember, that's what they did with the original Star Wars, and they packaged it with another movie that they thought was going to do better. That's the way they got Star Wars into theaters.
That's what got Star Wars into theaters. So block booking still happens, but it's typically not to the level that happened back in the 40s, because at the same time, this was the other big thing in the Paramount decision. Studios could no longer own exhibition. So it used to be, the reason why it seems like every town has like a Fox theater or like a Paramount theater, it's because 20th Century Fox owned that theater chain. Because Paramount owned that theater chain. And so what would happen is they would give their movies to their theaters, and they would basically choke out any independent proprietor.
Right.
And there's a bunch of other small like regulatory things that happened in that Supreme Court case. But the big thing is block booking is heavily regulated, and the studios couldn't buy any form of exhibition.
Sure.
Recently, in the past few weeks, the Justice Department, in a brief to, I don't know if it was the Supreme Court or some other court, was like, we don't think this is relevant anymore. We don't see why we need to uphold this. They basically are saying that the Justice Department is essentially thinking of issuing guidelines that, hey, don't do antitrust aspects using the Paramount decree because it's no longer relevant to the modern economy.
Right.
Which is, given our whole discussion about Disney buying everything and how there is legitimate and should be concern over the fact that Disney bought Fox.
Right.
This would be like if Disney bought Fox and then turned around and bought AMC.
Right.
And then said, we're going to exclusively give our own movies to AMC. And the Justice Department would be like, yeah, that's fine. Like, it's another measure where this lack of regulation is
Then you get into like we were complaining about streaming services and how many streaming services you need to buy to like consume content. Like, could you imagine if it's like you have exclusivity for theaters? Like, that'd be crazy.
Yeah, so there's that concern about it. But the other crazy thing is the Justice Department, not even a week later, had issued other guidance about, we don't think it's fair or legitimate that the WGA is the only writers guild in entertainment. So on one end, they're trying to get rid of regulation on companies, and on the other end, they're like, why is the WGA covered both film and television? That doesn't seem like legitimate. And it's just like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
So basically, the reason why I want to bring this up is because people have been talking about whether or not it's good or not to have all of this conglomerates just becoming one big entity, especially in the light of the Disney acquisition of Fox.
Right.
Everyone's concerned about it. Everyone's talking about Comcast may have bought Fox if Disney didn't. There's all of this stuff going on. Meanwhile, one of the last legitimate legal bastions preventing any one company from just steamrolling everything from production through distribution has been the Paramount decision. And the Justice Department just went, yeah. It's not good, folks. It's not good. It's the big thing, especially in our industry, is entertainment isn't competitive the way other industries are.
Right.
It never really has been. We all work in one industry. You just might work at under a different roof at a different time. It's all that's just how it is. They compete in limited matters of the fact that a film might be released this one weekend and you might have a competing film going at the same time, but it isn't like there's any major competition between like Disney and Warner. There is like on a corporate level.
Right.
It's not to the same degree that you would even see in like tech.
Right.
Where there is a very obvious measure of contention, and to get rid of one of the measures to try to prevent these organizations from having too much power just being taken away it's not a good thing.
The timing of it's not good either.
Yeah, the timing of it's not good either. So hopefully this doesn't actually become a thing, but we could be talking about here at some point in the future some studio trying to buy like a smaller chain. I could see like a Cinemark getting gobbled up by like, can you imagine like AT&T buying Cinemark? Like that would be not that great, because already the concern, and one of the limiting factors that have been thrown at Comcast when they bought NBC, was that they couldn't restrict content from anyone who was, say, not Comcast, because Comcast owns the last mile. Right. They're how you get the stream to go from whatever server to your house is owned by Comcast. And so when they bought NBC, they had a flat out rule written in by the Justice Department stating you cannot favor any content or try to discourage any other non-Comcast owned content to where it runs faster or slower to give your own network an advantage.
Right.
And this is essentially that.
Right.
But in a building.
Right.
So it's...
I mean, I could see them taking this away and then rewriting regulation, like, to make it a little more clear.
A little more clear, a little more modern, but I would almost argue that if you look at how Paramount works...
Right.
I would say that if there's any companies that should be afraid, I think that Paramount should be used to make it to where Comcast you either own the cable or you own the content.
Right.
I think that needs to be a separation again. Sure. But what we're seeing is the exact opposite.
Right.
Where they're just like, nope, doesn't matter. So, yeah.
We'll see. It's an interesting...
It's interesting. It's not good.
No. But, I mean, it's interesting to see where we're going from here. But
yeah, I just was surprised that it didn't get a lot of attention. And part of it is probably because it wasn't a bunch of Marvel characters everyone was talking about. It is
right.
Literally a Supreme Court case from 1948. Like, what's sexy about that?
Everything.
Ankle. Ankle is sexy about that, I think. Because, I'm assuming that's how far back... In the 1940s, a bit of ankle would have been considered risque, or am I going to 1840s?
Maybe. I think like pencil skirts were a thing. Maybe.
May have been. Let's watch some Hudson Hawk. Okay. Moving on. So I believe the next thing up is Knives Out, which I have seen. Mm-hmm. You haven't, neither has James. So for everyone watching, this is going to be a spoiler-free commentary.
So I love whodunits.
Yeah. You will love this film.
Okay. So, like, that's one of my favorite genres of, like, mystery and thriller films. What... Do they do the thing... I'm trying to think of, like, how to ask this question without being, like, spoilery. Do they do the thing where they, like, beat you over the head with a red herring for the whole movie and then twist it at the end? Because I hate that.
I don't feel like there was ever really a red herring...
You know what I'm talking about,
for the audience.
Right. But you know how I'm like... they really beat you over the head with one? You're like, this is it. And then in your head, like, they're going way too strong with this. It's not that.
Nope.
Okay,
cool. I wouldn't
cool.
say that was an issue at all. To put it in some perspective, did you see the Brana one that he did a couple years back, the Murder on the Orient Express?
Yes, I did.
I didn't like it. I felt like it fell flat. Like, it was just like, meh. This is, like, not that. Okay, this is so much fun to watch. It is so delightful to watch. Like I told you, I've seen it twice already.
Right.
I'm looking forward to seeing it again.
Okay.
It is a really fun movie. Everyone should go see this movie. Like,
okay.
Audience, if you haven't seen Knives Out, and you're like, hey, what movie do I want to see this weekend? I don't really want to see Frozen, and it's Star Wars isn't out yet. What do you want to see Knives Out? You just go see Knives Out. It's really... really good.
I mean, the actors in there are incredible. So, I mean, I'm very excited to eventually check it out. But, like, yeah, my big concern with whodunit kind of movies is always the idea of, like, the director wants to steer you into a direction. And then, like, my favorite part about them is, like, trying to figure it out on my own and, like, really taking it all in. And then, like, my favorite part is, like, when you walk out of the theater, or after the show's over, you're talking about it with a friend, and they all have different ideas about who could have done it.
You will be very delightfully surprised by this movie.
Okay.
In fact, I would say in some ways that in terms of its execution, there is nothing that comes to mind that I think should be changed.
Hey guys, Rian Johnson doesn't make good movies.
Yeah, I need to get back. I'm behind on my 50 words reviews thing, and there's a part of me that's very tempted to have my review jokingly be with that weird mixed cap lowercase saying,
yeah.
Rian Johnson is ruining cinema, and then give it the must see.
Yeah, he is he is like 5 for 5 for movies that he's done.
Every note he was trying to hit, he hits dead on in this movie.
Fantastic.
I cannot recommend it enough.
Okay.
Again, I've seen it twice. If it was a case where someone's like, hey, we're going to go see Knives Out, do you want to go? I'd probably actually say yes.
Right.
And see it a third time.
There you go.
In theaters. It's that good. It's so much fun to watch.
Good to know.
Yeah. Why are you watching this? Go watch Knives Out.
Fair. Very fair.
Yeah, so,
Just lost a viewer.
yeah.
Do you really?
No, we didn't.
Oh, no.
But, yeah, no, it's a very fun film.
That's exciting.
I think I was listening to something NPR did, and they were lamenting the fact that because it is very comedic in its execution,
Sure.
that the fact that means it probably won't get many, if any, Oscar noms when it should.
Right.
But then I'm sure I'll have my Oscar rant again in February. The one that's it's just gonna happen every year. I'm gonna have my Oscar rant.
I know it's not on the docket. Have you watched The Irishman yet?
I've not watched Irishman yet.
It is very difficult to watch in one sitting.
That's what I've heard. I've heard it's a very difficult thing to watch in one sitting. I've heard that this is one of those cases where you needed to be in a theater to see it, not because of the theater experience, but because in a theater you can't hit you can't hit pause.
Yeah. I don't think it's not a good film. Like I think it's really good, and I think it's a very good film.
One of my
man, it is tough to watch.
My boss was because she had watched it and she wanted to had her thought, and her thing was, it's not that this is bad, but she thought it would have been better instead of trying to make it a 3-hour movie if it was like a 5-hour miniseries.
Yeah,
where you had like 5
episodes. There's a lot. There's something that I found online where it's how to watch The Irishman as a miniseries, and so they give you like very obvious things to be like, okay, turn it off and come back later. So it's the idea of like when Robert De Niro gets up and walks out the door,
hit stop
and go do whatever. And so it's like, oh, cool. And like, stuff like that, right?
Yeah.
It's like, okay,
it's
great.
If you're going to make a 3.5-hour movie, you better earn that extra hour and a half.
Yeah. I mean, and it's the thing of like, obviously two very different things and very controversial to like compare them. But like Avengers Endgame, I can sit there through that 3-hour movie and be very happy the entire time and be very excited to sit there and like be along with this, right? And it doesn't feel like a long 3-hour movie.
It's also had 10 years of build-up.
Right.
This is that because we've talked about, I don't think on this show, but I know we've talked in the past that you need to look almost at Marvel films as a TV series where each Avengers is usually, typically, with maybe the exception of Captain America Civil War, it seems like every Avengers movie is supposed to be treated as this is the
next
season finale.
Right. But like the idea, Civil War technically isn't an Avengers film, but like the idea of like I walk in Endgame, before I even sit down, before the movie even starts, I'm in. Whatever you're doing, I'm in. Right? Like count me in. And so you go into that mindset with like, all right, cool, I'm committed. But the movie itself doesn't feel long.
Yeah.
Right? It moves. It flies through. Irishman's, and I know it's completely different films and they're trying to do different stuff, but it's all dialogue and it's all like long conversation and it's all close ups.
Did you watch Roma?
I did watch Roma.
I never had a problem watching Roma. I never wanted to stop.
Right.
I wanted to keep watching because I felt like I was just drilled into this universe.
Right.
How long was Roma? 2.5? Is it 3 hours?
I don't know. But this Irishman feels long.
Like you feel the length.
Like you feel it.
That's never a good thing. That was actually one of I think the biggest knocks, as much as I know there are a lot of people out there who did not like the fact that I gave it a negative review of A Star is Born.
Right.
You feel every damn minute in that movie. And it's just like, when you can feel that in a movie, sometimes it's because they could have tightened it down and it didn't need to have that runtime that it did.
Right.
But, because I think Roma was 3 hours too. I'm looking up the runtime right now.
Yeah.
135 minutes. Oh, good. No, that's only 2
hours.
hours 15.
Yeah. So
That's not bad.
No, this is, you feel every bit of this, and it's, again, it's just a little concerning.
Yeah.
But again, you know, I'm not like knocking it, because it's not. It's a very well made, very well acted, very well written movie. It's just, and it's long.
Yeah, I've seen that. It's been getting mixed reviews too, where it's some people like, this is like one of the best films of the year, and then there's other people going like, oh my god, please, just, I can't keep watching this movie.
Yeah. About like an hour or so into it, like an hour and a half, I'm like, I'm ready for this to be over. Like, I get the point.
Never a good sign in a movie.
Yeah, I'm like, I get the point. And like, it's one of those things where you pause it, you're like, I'm halfway through this movie. You're like, let me rethink my life choices here.
Yeah. Like, this is an hour and a half I can't get back, but I can keep the next hour and a half.
Yeah, but it's the kind of thing where it's like, with most movies that are dialogue like that, you can, it's a good thing to have in the background, because you can kind of like do something else while you're listening to this dialogue and stuff like that. But like, it's engaging enough where, and it's like detailed enough where you need to pay attention, otherwise you won't get the movie.
Yeah.
But you don't want to pay attention for that long. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. I'm sure I'll watch it.
You gotta give it, I would give it a shot, and like, maybe you'll feel completely different, because again, everyone's having mixed opinions.
Everyone's
like,
have different opinions.
For
It's
me,
one of those
like,
ones,
my neurosis, I can't sit there and be
well,
like,
the thing too is, since it's already getting a lot of Oscar talk, I'm gonna feel this weird obligation to watch it anyway. But
Godspeed.
yeah. Moving on. So the original plan was Sam's first movie was going to be Frozen 2. You want to give us a bit of an update?
So I think I still want it to be Frozen 2. I think we're just trying to figure out, because again, it's still killing it in theaters. So like, obviously it hasn't died down yet enough for us to maybe like plan to go in the early morning or something like that. Like, it's not. We worked in a movie theater. We understand like the time frame at which it'll be dead in a theater.
It's like, what time is it going to be dead? What time is it going to be least annoying to have a child in there?
Yeah, and like, if we have to leave, we can just leave.
Yeah. By the way, hint, usually 10 a.m. on a Sunday.
Yeah. Or like a weekday, like a Tuesday.
Yeah. If you can't do a weekday, do 10 a.m. on a Sunday. If you can do a weekday, do it in the morning, any of the days, and you're fine. Pretty
much. So the thing is that like, everyone that I've talked to about Frozen 2 says it's great. I want to see it really bad, but everyone that I've talked to says that it is more adult, more serious, and a little more action heavy than it is sort of like kid friendly heavy.
Yeah.
And so the trailers that I've watched with Samantha, she wants to see it because she loves these characters, but she's scared of the movie. So I'm having reservations of like whether or not this is going to be a good first experience, or whether it'd be better to see something else that's more,
a little more
like in her wheelhouse.
Yeah.
But again, she loves Anna and Elsa, right? And so she has all this Anna and Elsa stuff, and so she loves them so much. She loves those characters. It's like, okay, well, maybe we'll figure it out. But I think like another week or so to give this hype.
Like, give it a week to die down. It might also be one of those cases, because I know you made a comment to me that you don't want to go see this movie without her because you'd feel bad.
Yeah.
To be fair, because she really likes the movie.
Right.
It might be worth going and seeing the movie just
to gauge, right?
To gauge it.
Right.
Or like to talk to someone specifically who you might know who has a kid a similar age and be like, hey, how did it go?
Yeah, how'd it go, right? That's like the time.
Because then that can make a huge difference, because if you go, you see it and you're like, oh, it's scary in the trailer, but it's not scary in like the theater, then cool.
Right.
But if it's scary in the theater, then it's like, yeah, we probably don't want to take Sam.
Right. Totally with you.
So, I don't know. That might be one way to go about it.
Yeah,
But
definitely.
I've heard very good things. I haven't been able to see it yet. Mainly because, like I told you, I've been looking at going, because I've been kind of waiting for it to quiet down, because for the reason where you're like, I want to go at a time where a kid is not going to, like a younger child isn't going to be disruptive. My thing is, I want to go at a time where the odds of a child being in there to disrupt my viewing is at like the
all-time low.
All-time low.
Right.
So, which the sad thing is the best time for that is usually a time where I am like, I want to go to bed.
Right.
So I've been kind of waiting for it to quiet down before I make my run over to go see it. But yeah, I've also heard good things. But let's move on to some trailers that actually hit this past week. That
I want to rank these.
Let's do it. What is your rank? Because I have never sat there and thought of ranking it.
Yeah.
But I want to know what your rank would be.
I have Black Widow, Mulan, and then No Time to Die trailer.
I actually have it. Like, it wasn't intended this way, but the way I have it written in my note is probably how I'd rank it. Mulan, No Time to Die, and then Black Widow.
Really? So here's my thing. No Time to Die, I love beats in there, but the way it's cut feels very just like generic spy movie.
Very generic. Yeah, that's fair. I think a lot of it is I
love the beats of like Leona Lynch's character being like, I'm the new James Bond, or like I'm the new 007.
Yeah,
like you're an old man. I love those beats.
A lot of it for me probably is the fact that Bond was such a huge part of growing up, because that was like my dad's first movie in the theater was Spy Who Loved Me. Which was his form of rebellion because he would have been like 19 at the time,
right?
And he went to go see the titillating Bond movie. What? Oh, nothing's up. Okay. So, like, that was what a lot of me, like, Caitlin and I growing up, whenever, like, my dad chose the movie, it was usually a Bond movie. So I know it's definitely, there's a lot of nostalgia going into why I probably rated it so high, is because it's a Bond movie. I really like Daniel Craig's Bond. Right. So for me, it's just like, woohoo, Bond. Black Widow, it felt, I was excited by the idea of Black Widow being a little more of if you have like a superhero movie like aesthetic, I was thinking more like Black Widow would be kind of like stealth video game type thing.
Oh,
I was looking for, they're gonna have her be like, this is gonna be the spy movie.
Right. This feels very Winter Soldier to me, and I'm totally into it.
Yeah, I got a huge Winter Soldier vibe, which I'm totally fine with more Winter Soldier vibes. But I was watching it, and I was like, oh, they're going more Winter Soldier, and I was expecting them to go more like
noir, kind of.
A little more noir, spy type thing. And I was like, okay, so, which is fine. I think Black Widow can nail that. It just was not what I was expecting.
Right. So like I totally was expecting this, and it's everything I wanted, and I love they kept the Russos aren't doing it obviously, but they kept the Russo style.
Aesthetic. Yeah,
of
there's
like,
definitely
where it is like the fight scene they have in the apartment with I forget what her name is, but it's Black Widow and the other
Black Widow.
Right. The other character, when they have them fighting in the apartment, they hold on a lot. Like a lot of action movies now are doing the thing where they cut. I think, did we mention this in the last episode where it's like the joke in Taken is it takes Liam Neeson 5 seconds and 6 cuts to jump a fence? Yeah. So like, but this one they really hold, and like you see some really crazy like stunt choreography.
Well, I think to go and to like do weird the film student analysis of what's happening in action movies is I think what's happened is John Wick really pushed home the idea of like, guys, action movies right now are like cheating like crazy.
Yeah.
See, you can still do it legit.
Show it.
Let's show how they're cheating and editing, and it's just like.
So like you feel it, right? Yeah. With John Wick, you feel it, and then with this fight, you feel it. Like when she flips her into the door, and there's like her body hits the glass and shatters everything. Like you see it, you see her body hit the door, and like it feels good, and like it feels visceral. Yeah. And so all of the sequences in there, like me comparing, and obviously again, it goes back to the thing of I am personally more connected to like the Black Widow character than I am James Bond, because I read comics and I know that character, and like I'm very invested in Marvel. But like to me, they both felt very like action spy trailers. But the Marvel trailer, I think Marvel just has the trailer thing down.
Marvel has trailers down.
Dude, even the end animation where it has her belt and it has her walking down the hall, like the animation of her walking down the hallway and it goes into the Black Widow logo with the things on the side. Oh my god, why do they need to do that? You know how expensive that is?
And that's probably not even going to be in the movie.
No, but you know how
that's a lot of money just for one shot in a trailer, and it won't be in the movie.
No, it's like when I was telling you about Jeff Goldblum. With you watched the first episode of Jeff Goldblum. There's so much custom animation in there of just like random stuff. Of why do you need this? It's like, oh, I don't know. It looks cool. Great. Fantastic. But like when you compare the two trailers, it's just like the Bond one felt bland to me, where like the Black Widow one had a sense of style, a sense of like what it's trying to do, and then also just like the extra flair to me that the Bond one didn't have that I wanted. Right?
I think that's fair. But then that Mulan trailer
was so
holy
good.
Shit. I loved that trailer. Because I got a lot of... Because I enjoy, actually, some Chinese cinema.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know why they're doing it Ip Man 4, but I'll watch it.
Right.
And there was so much in that trailer. I'm like, oh, they're doing a Chinese-style action epic.
Like a hero
with
style,
English language. Like, that's literally... It's an English language Chinese film.
Yeah.
By Disney. And it's just like, kind of... Holy crap! Right.
I mean, it's weird to me because Mulan is my favorite Disney movie. So like,
they're changing some aspects of the story.
Oh, definitely, and it's
hard,
and it's a very different tone, right?
Yes,
it's a very different tone. It's a very different. Like, there's no Mushu.
There's no Mushu. I don't think Mushu's going to appear at all.
No, they already said no Mushu.
Yeah, but. Like the musical beats, you know that they're not even they're gonna reference it in the soundtrack, and they're probably gonna do nothing.
Yeah,
with
like
it.
I guarantee you, they're gonna have a training montage, but they're not.
And that's gonna be it. They're gonna play the Man Out of Youth music, but they're not gonna.
But they're gonna have the instrumental going while during it. They're not gonna like allude to all this stuff.
And that's if they do it
right. And it's like, okay, great, but. I'm curious. I'm excited. It's just hard for me to disconnect the two from my brain, but I'm very excited, and the trailer looks cool.
Yeah, but I think it's a smart move by Disney because shooting it in this style is going to do very well in China.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Because it is in English, it will do very well in America. From just like the math that some person sat down to do when they made this movie, it's like they very wisely went, we can make something that is both artistically different from the series, that is an homage to the style of filmmaking in China, which will let it apply to the nostalgia of America while also playing into what a Chinese audience would expect in an epic historical film with elements of fantasy. It's very well, and then plus well thought out.
I thought about this the other day. The Disney live action sort of remakes and films that have done really well are the ones that do slightly different things than the original ones did. So like the Cinderella story was slightly different than it was in the original cartoon and original animation. And so that one did pretty well. That's kind of like what gave them the confidence to keep doing all of these.
Keep doing them. Maleficent, they followed the bad...
They followed the bad side, which is like very different than what you would normally see.
And then,
this one looks very different.
And then, I haven't seen it yet, but like Beauty and the Beast, from what I've been told, is basically, they just took the animated film and just remade it
and
as
so
live action.
the ones that don't do as well have been the shot-for-shot remakes almost, where it's like Jungle Book, Lion King, Sleeping Beauty, or not Sleeping, Beauty and the Beast, and then Aladdin. Like, all those were mainly just kind of shot for shot.
They did well in the box office, but like no one loved them.
Right. So like those films aren't necessarily like the ones where they go like, we're just going to stay faithful to the source material, don't necessarily do well. Where the ones where they change it up a little bit have been doing pretty, like, have received more.
Where they try to actually change the story rather than be like, this story doesn't really work for a modern audience. We'll give one line to Nala where it's literally lions attack, and everyone will be okay with it.
Yeah.
By the way, I don't think anyone was okay with it, and that was a legitimate line in the Lion King movie. And oh my god, it's so cringing. Like, you're watching it and you're just like, first off, Beyonce's performance in that movie. But then, on top of that, the line, lions attack, and you're just like, okay.
Okay. So speaking of subpar actresses, so I was flipping through stuff, and I got or scrolling through some stuff, and I was like, oh, my friend was talking about Hustlers. So I watched Hustlers. Jennifer Lopez is fucking fantastic in that movie.
I still need to see Hustlers, but I've also heard that there's still rumblings that she might get a nomination for Hustlers.
Yeah, that she I've never seen Jennifer Lopez as a good actress ever. My mom loves Made in Manhattan. My mom loves all of her movies. Like, my mom loves Jennifer Lopez, and like that her movies are constantly on the television at my house, whatever. So I enjoy her as a person, and I enjoy her as an actress. I don't necessarily think she's good at it, but like, I enjoy her because she usually stays in her wheelhouse in terms of like what she does. She is fantastic in this movie. And I was like, where did this come from? It's one of those things where I was like, where
you start to wonder, it's like, is she only mediocre in the other movies
because they write her that way?
They wrote her that way, and like she's gotten mediocre direction. Is it literally no one cast her and like realized she could deliver?
Yeah, her and Constance Wu in that movie are fantastic. So yeah, I would highly recommend Hustlers. It's a good movie.
Yeah,
with very great acting from Jennifer Lopez.
Yeah, that's
weird thing to say.
That movie was one of those cases where it came out, and that was the thing that I found so crazy, is it wasn't everyone's like, oh, it's a movie about strippers. Like, that was like oh yeah, by the way, it's a movie about strippers. It seemed like everyone was just like, oh my god, Jennifer Lopez.
Yeah.
Like, oh yeah, she was a stripper.
I knew
the stripping part was the oh yeah, and you'd think it'd be flipped.
I was like very much... I didn't know what I was walking into. I was like, I knew what the movie was about. I didn't hear any buzz about it. I was just kind of like, whatever. And then my friend that I trusted the post that I saw was like, you need to watch this movie. And I was like, all right, cool. I'll give it a shot. I have time. And yeah, I grabbed me right away. I was like, okay, cool.
Yeah. No, I've heard good things about that one. That's definitely one, once I realize it's available to stream, I'll probably end up watching, just because, again, there's still buzz that she might get an Oscar nom.
Weird, right? Weird to think about.
This has been, I usually feel like by this point in the year, I know what all the Oscar nom films are going to be, for the most part. And then this year I was realizing, I'm like, I don't know if it's because I haven't been paying as close of attention, or if it's just, there's nothing standing out yet.
Give me that Endgame nod.
Yeah. I don't think that's going to happen, though. I saw your argument online. I don't think it's going to happen.
Oh, me and Kyle?
Yes.
Yeah. For anyone that didn't know, my argument is, because Disney's pushing real hard for the Endgame nod. My thing is, if it does get one, it's the culmination of like the 10 years. It's not for Endgame in particular. It's for the culmination of the 10 years for them to get a nod and like a ceremonious thing, because that's something that the Oscars do on a regular basis.
Yeah, the Return of the King was it was a statement on the Lord of the Rings series, not just Return of the King.
Right.
Because like I would argue that Return of the King is not the best in the trilogy.
It's my favorite, but it's not the best.
Yeah.
one.
I still think it's Fellowship of the Ring.
Yes.
But there's a reason why Fellowship of the Ring didn't win anything, is because no one wanted to give it all these awards and then have like 2 bad movies afterwards. Yeah. But with that in mind, on your Endgame argument, I wanted to know what your take would be on the potential Disney dilemma, which I don't expect to happen, but let's play a what if. What if word comes out, like, we all go see Rise of Skywalker, and we're all just like...
Okay.
How do you play it if you're Disney? Do you push Endgame? Do you push Rise of Skywalker? Or do you push both if everyone's talking about how we need to give an Oscar nom to the end of a saga?
I would say... Is it the
Infinity Saga or Star Wars?
I'd say Infinity Saga, because the thing is with the... Like, there's universal goodwill towards Marvel, where the Star Wars community is kind of a shithole.
Oh, yeah. The Star Wars community is...
That's what I'm saying. Like, even if this movie does gangbusters... It's not going to beat Endgame.
And I wouldn't expect that to.
No, it's not going to beat Endgame. Even if it does a ton of money, it's not going to beat Endgame. And it's not going to, like, it'll resonate. but it doesn't have like with how divided people were on Last Jedi. It's all like it doesn't have the emotional weight to it that Endgame had, right? So it's like, I know it's weird to say because like Star Wars is such an ingrained thing in everyone, and Star Wars is such a passionate thing. But with this new trilogy, it doesn't have the same. You know what I'm trying to say? Like it doesn't have the same like weight to it as if everyone loved Last Jedi, then it builds up to this like crescendoing storm of like, okay, this is gonna be the end and like the kind of emotional payoff. Where I feel like this is gonna be the emotional payoff, but half of the people don't care and gonna pick it apart anyway.
Yeah, there's gonna be a section of people who are gonna just hate it, even if it was the best movie ever made ever. Yeah. They would find something in there
where it's like Endgame is almost universally loved.
Fair. Just figured I'd get your take on that, like on where you would think that would go if that happened.
Yeah.
But let's move on to a very, very brief TV, because this is really on there here more because I saw this news break and I was like, I want to know what Chris's take is on this. So there's a lot of details that haven't hit, but Dr. Disrespect, the streamer who like. The guy streams in character as Dr. Disrespect, and they're going to do a TV series. No one knows if it's going to be animated or live action. It's still TBD, but they're going to do a TV series with him.
It's going to be great. It's going to be great because Doc is a showman in every sense of the word, and he is absolutely fantastic. Like, if you don't even have to watch his stream. If you just go online and you watch Dr. Disrespect stream highlights, you understand immediately what his appeal is and why he's so popular. And so he is absolutely, he's just a treasure of a human to be like, to watch and be entertained by.
He's a good player combined with this absolutely bizarre, crazy, awesome to watch character.
Yeah. And so he has formed this niche for himself. So very well deserved. I think the concern I have is like, how do you bring this character into like a mainstream audience if you're doing a TV series or like something else? But I think his audience carries over, and I think like he will grab people in a way that's different, and I think it'll be fine.
Yeah, because I saw this and my first thought was, do you remember the Tech Jansen stuff that they did on Colbert Report?
Yes.
That was kind of my thought when they're like, we're going to do an animated series possibly about the origins of Dr. Disrespect, and I immediately went to like Tech Jansen, and I was like, I can see it just being this over-the-top, absurd, like completely ridiculous, no way in hell would ever actually be true.
Yeah.
And I'm like, and I'm down for that.
Like he's shooting out of the womb with the mustache and the hair. Like, you know, whatever. That'd be cool.
Like, I'm down for that. I was just, it hit my various sources, and I was just like, I want to, even though I know we'll only talk about it for like 2-3 minutes, I just want to know where Chris's head is on this.
Yes, that's where I'm at. I'm excited. I'm like excited and, you know.
All right. Let's keep on moving on. So games, before we dive into the little bit at the bottom that will be popping up on screen, Valve released a new Half-Life game, and it's not Half-Life 3.
What a weird...
I saw it, like our note, because you guys don't see the note, and I forgot to create a little card for the lower third.
Right.
Then our note, in the internal note that Chris and I share, it says Valve releases Half-Life Not 3.
Yeah, I just think it's weird timing.
Because it's not like episode, because they did that episode thing.
It's just a VR.
Not an episode, it's just a VR thing.
Game.
But it's still I find it absolutely hilarious.
But I mean, like, to me, this is a good sign for Half-Life 3, actually, as like a weird kind of aside. So Valve in the past, and like Gabe in the past, has said that there is a, like, when they have talked about Half-Life 3, they've talked about how Half-Life is always about pushing boundaries of technology and new experiences. And
that it isn't that they're saying no to Half-Life 3, it's that they want to make sure when they do it right, and it's
right.
Yeah.
And so,
which is
for them,
fair.
Them experimenting in VR tells me that they're still looking and they're still like trying to understand.
They're trying to figure out what is the next thing that they need to move into.
Right. And so that's a good space to be in, because like as a company, Valve doesn't need to do anything anymore.
No, I just think it's funny because everyone has been like Half-Life 3 has become such a joke.
Yeah.
That a Half-Life game comes out, it's just like I just thought it was funny because I know you don't follow. God, I know you don't follow. God, what's there? I'm totally blanked on.
You don't follow them either.
Yeah, Paradox. They do the grand strategy games, and there's been a while everyone being like Victoria 3, because they want Victoria 3, and I've started joking in the little Paradox circles I am in on Reddit that they're waiting to see, Valve and Paradox are just waiting to see who blinks first.
It's so good.
It's just like everyone wants the third one and no one is getting it anytime soon. But hey, the big thing we were going to talk about, Amy Hennig, I totally just... Hennig, just butchered her name, getting a new studio. It looks like she's getting funding from Skydance, which is Doug Ellison.
Yeah.
So...
cool. I mean, she obviously is crazy talented. She...
was working on the Star Wars game we were all upset got canceled.
Yeah. She's been working on a couple Star Wars games that got canceled. Yeah. So, she hasn't put a game out in a while because she's been working on all that Star Wars stuff.
Yeah.
So, and she's always been sort of added to teams, not midway through, but like after the conception phase, to like shepherd. So I'm always curious to see, now that she has her own studio, what she can do with her original sort of thing that she can create and concept on her own, and like very excited. So
yeah, no, I saw that news and I was like, this is good news, because as much as we were all very excited with her Star Wars, and I wish she could dive back into that. They obviously did a lot of work on it that EA just decided to eat. Yeah. But there's something about how she's now in a situation where she has no real creative constraint. Right. Creative constraints are important because they help push creativity, because you have to think your way through a problem rather than throw money at it. But it's nice that the creative constraint isn't coming from the corporate end rather than like the budget end.
See, it could go either way. It could go either way. Like Kojima got creative freedom and created Death Stranding, which is I don't know what the fuck that game is, but like it just depends on.
We could get Death Stranding, or we could get we can get like God of War 5.
We can get gold, or we can get some overly creative like.
This is their dream. This is her dream project, but it's like no one wants to play it. Or Death Stranding.
Well, again, like Death Stranding's not a bad game. It's just like strange and weird, and I'm not entirely sure what it is. Like, I beat that game. I don't even know what it is. So,
Oh, that's a good sign.
It's not a bad game. I had fun with it. It was just like after like 10 hours, I was like, I don't know what the fuck's going on.
Yeah, so I don't think we'll see anything probably this next year, but maybe the year after.
Years. Yeah. Like I would say
maybe. two-ish years. Yeah.
Because remember, starting up a studio, you need to like build the infrastructure, get everything set up.
So they probably aren't even going to start getting into major.
It won't even be. It'll be like 6 months to a year before they even start. Like,
what are we going to do?
Yeah. So.
Yeah. So moving on, 2019 Game Awards.
Yeah.
You started talking about this at the top?
I just don't think this year's that strong. And I think the Game Awards as a brand is getting more and more... Well, like, they're doing a really good job of shouting out games and, like, being a game award show. I just don't think, like, they're starting to do esports stuff, and they started doing it the last couple of years. And, like, this year's probably the most embarrassing year for them in terms of like their nominees for esports stuff, and I'm like very confused.
Yeah, I didn't really, because I'm not as familiar with the esports space as you, so none of that stood out. But the thing I found interesting looking at all the nominees was the fact last year there were so many games I was like, man, the only reason I'm not playing this is because like I don't have a PlayStation, or it's not on PC yet. Like there were. Like what, Spider-Man had a nom, correct?
Yeah,
Spider-Man, God of War, and Red Dead
are the three big
Those are three games where I was just like, man, I wish I could play those games. And then I looked at this year's nominations and I'm like, I didn't care about any of them.
Right. The game that should sweep, obviously Star Wars is like the big one that most people are going to like gravitate towards.
But it came out too late.
No, it's on there.
Fallen Order?
Yeah.
I thought it missed nomination. I didn't see anything.
You sure?
Because I think the nomination window closed the 15th and it came out the 16th.
No, you can check it. It's on there.
Yeah, I might have missed that.
Yeah, it's on all the knobs. So Star Wars is obviously the big one. I'm putting my vote like a couple days ago, so it's on there. I think Control is the best game of the year. I think I gave that. I wrote that one as my main nomination for most. I put that as a winner for most of the awards, in my mind at least. So let me explain to you this egregious esports one that I'm like very angry about. Oh yeah, I guess not.
Yeah, like
so yeah,
because
so
I think what it is like the way they do their the year. Because like you'll notice this was also in like Emmys where it's not like the 20 whatever, like it's from like June through May.
Right.
It looks like this one ended November 15th and Fallen Order came out after that.
Right.
So it would be on next year's Game Awards,
which is not going to win.
Yeah.
Because we have Cyberpunk and Last of Us 2 coming out.
I know next year's.
But, so here's the thing. So when you look at the Game Awards right now, they nominated 5 esports players, right? And I'm gonna go through this. They nominated Buga, who won Overwatch not Overwatch, Fortnite World Championships, right? That's fine. They have Sinatra, who plays for the San Francisco Shock. He won Overwatch Championship. That's fine. They have Simple, who is the top CS:GO player, right?
Yeah.
Then they have Faker and they have Perks, who are 2 League of Legends players. Obviously, Faker's the greatest player of all time. Faker's the Michael Jordan of League of Legends, right? But this year was a down year. His team didn't make World Finals. They made like top 4. But again, very down year. Not his best year by any stretch. So I don't know why he's nominated. Then Perks played for G2, who's the top European team. They made World Finals. They didn't win. And he's not even the best player on his team. So I don't know why Perks is on there. Right?
Who determines these?
I'm not entirely sure. So then, Doinby won a championship, has become sort of the social media darling of the League of Legends world, and again, won the world championship, was the best player on his team, is not nominated, and is not nominated instead of these 2. Right? Then, Arslan Ash is not nominated, which is a travesty. So, okay, obviously, this is bad timing, because Arslan Ash just lost Tekken World Tour in like first round, so like whatever, but that's not the point. Arslan Ash was a Pakistani player for Tekken.
You were talking about it. I don't know if we've talked about it on stream, but I remember you telling me about this.
So let me paint you this picture, because in my mind, Arslan Ash is esports player of the year, hands down by far, not even close. So Tekken right now is the most popular and top fighting game in esports right now. It's not even close, right? Tekken is absolutely out of its mind in terms of how far ahead in terms of competition and viewership and hype and news in the esports world right now in terms of fighting games, right?
Yeah.
So Tekken is king. First off, they have no Tekken nominees on there, right? Besides the point. So EVO Japan happens in the beginning of the year, happens like January, February. There's a FGC sort of collective headed by Sherry Jennings, who they fund players that cannot make it to events themselves to like find new talent and like bring in top players to places where they normally won't be able to go. So Arslan Ash was one of those players that was brought into EVO Japan to compete from Pakistan, a region that no one knows about.
Yeah.
Right? And he wins EVO Japan.
And I remember you telling me it was like afterwards, everyone's like, "Oh my god, he's so good," and he's like, "I'm not even the best player in Pakistan."
He wins EVO Japan, and everyone's like, "Okay, well maybe it's a fluke, whatever." So then he flies out to EVO proper and wins EVO, and he flies to a bunch of other events and like wins other events and stuff like that, but takes top 5. But he wins EVO, so he's one of the 2 biggest events of the year, and then they're asking him like, what's going on? And he's like, "I'm not even the best player in Pakistan."
Yeah.
So then he funds other players to go out and like compete in tournaments, and it makes Pakistan this world powerhouse now in Tekken.
Yeah.
So he's single-handedly changed the Tekken scene for like he's unleashed this entire new region.
How
onto
much
the
of
world.
this problem is the fact that all esports are getting lumped together in one category?
I don't think that's a problem, because I think like I understand what they're trying to do, and like Buga's fine, Sinatra's fine. Simple is whatever, but like he's fine too. He's the best CS:GO player. That's fine. You want representation there.
Well, what I mean, do you need to have like you can have like this is the best person overall of the year, but do they need to have categories based off of the type of game?
No, I don't think that's a problem.
You just think it's the nomination process, or
I just don't understand why Faker and Perks are nominated.
Yeah,
it doesn't. There's no reason for them to be nominated.
Do you know how they get nominated? Like no. So okay. So,
but the thing is, like, as soon as the nominations came out, everyone's like, "Why are these two nominated? Why is there like Doinby's not nominated? Why is there no fighting game person on here?" Like, it's unfathomable how these people aren't even nominated, right?
Yeah. So basically, they need to figure out something with the nomination because if like, but yeah, no, I was looking over all the Game Awards stuff and I was just like, oh yeah, there's nothing on here that just strikes me as yay.
Yeah.
Just odd.
Yeah, the best game on there is Control. But it's not the big, thing that people are looking for. So.
Yeah. All right, let's move along to tech, and this is the point where I guess to give you a bit of detail, I know we filled you in a bit when you came in.
Yeah.
Because we were like, did we? Because I'm like, I don't think we've told you what all is going on that James and I are like playing around with.
You're plotting.
We're plotting like crazy.
Plottings are happening.
Plottings are happening. I guess.
So let me get this straight.
Yeah.
So you have an old iMac that is dead.
Yeah.
So you're trying to turn it into a monitor that you can use externally.
Yes.
Okay. Then James is trying to get a new logic board for his MacBook.
Yes.
To upgrade his MacBook to make it in like a better and like updated MacBook.
We are basically taking all of this older tech we have, looking at tearing it apart and putting it either back together or making something else out of it.
Is there a backup plan for like if this doesn't work?
I mean,
no, it'll work. You'll make it work.
The iMac is already dead. This is the one that is the reason why I had to build a Hackintosh. I just never got rid of it because it was just one of those cases where I'm like, I feel weird getting rid of this because it's such a nice display.
Yeah.
That I was just like, I just couldn't get rid of it. And then James is sitting around and he's like,
the screen probably works. Like it's not. Apple doesn't make like the LCDs are so complicated to make that they're only a couple companies actually do it.
Yeah, they're all made by LG. Apple's iMac panels this past decade have all been LG. They are crazy high quality because Apple puts in really good panels into the iMacs.
Right.
And it just was like, I just didn't want to get rid of it. The problem was, and the reason why it kind of just sat around was because I was just like, I don't know exactly what to do with this, is the way Apple runs the display. It required a working logic board, which is Apple speak for motherboard.
Right.
And that's what broke. My logic board is what failed in the iMac and was the reason why I had all those problems. So I was just like, given the internals in there, I can't run it as a monitor. And we started poking around and discovered, we could just buy the driver. Like just flat out buy a driver, just tear out all the internals.
Right.
Leave in just the panel. And then we would just need to put in the driver, figure out a way to run power to it, to the driver, and then the monitor would work again. So it's basically... you just
have like a nice monitor, basically.
Yeah.
So it's not like zero money, unfortunately. Like the driver board seems to be kind of like a custom thing, and it's like $80.
So it's like $80,
not bad.
Which is still like for a high quality 1440 monitor.
Yeah.
That if this was a standalone monitor, it would probably be like closer to 300.
Yeah.
Like, but because here's the thing I found, because a lot of this came about because I'm getting fed up with the Hackintosh aspect of the Hackintosh.
Okay.
To where I've been sitting there going, hey, maybe I should start looking into getting a new computer. What would it do? If I bought a Mac Mini, I would need to buy a monitor. And it's just like, well, why can't we turn this into the monitor? And so we were just kind of exploring all of that. And here's the thing I found crazy because Apple's current iMacs, they use a 5K panel. I've only found one company outside of LG. So LG does sell not the exact same panel, but basically the same panel as the 5K iMac, and it's $1,200. Guess what the cheapest panel is basically, for all intents and purposes, the non-Apple customized 5K LG panel, not sold by LG, the lowest one you can get. Guess how much that panel is as a monitor, just in a monitor someone's else. And we won't do Price is Right rules because, James, I didn't tell you what it was. So not Price is Right rules. I just want to know who gets closest. How much do you think it is?
They're like $800.
$800. James, what do you think?
I'll guess $500.
$750.
Oh, Jesus.
So this is the thing that's crazy because everyone talks about how Apple products are overpriced. I sat there, I saw that, I'm like, okay, if I wanted that exact same panel, now again, it's not the iMac, the panel I have in my iMac, because mine is a 1440, but I sat there and I was just like, oh, if you bought, because I think starting rate for the 27-inch iMac is $1799, I was just like, oh, that means the iMac is really just like $1,000 computer with an $800 monitor. And I'm like, oh, this now makes sense as a price.
Yeah.
Like, oh, this isn't overpriced at all. It's all the monitor.
I mean, the stand is overpriced.
Well, yeah. The Mac Pro is a whole different can of worms. By the way, they're finally letting people configure it and buy them on the 10th. So a couple days we'll know how ridiculously overpriced they are.
Cool.
But
people.
Yeah, that was the crazy thing because I've been sitting here going, do I want to get a new iMac? Should I do a Mac Mini and an eGPU?
Right.
Use this? It's basically we were just sitting around talking about, because I enjoyed building the computer. I really enjoyed building the machine I have now. I'm looking forward to building the machine again. It's just there are issues running macOS on non-Apple hardware that have started to make my workflow when doing any video work just goddamn annoying.
Right.
To where I've hit the point where I'm like, it was one thing when I first did it and I had the downtime to like, just let's see if I can't fix the problem. Let's address the problem. Let's do all this stuff. To where now it's like, no, this is starting to cut into what little free time I have. And I just don't want to deal with it anymore.
I wonder if, just like with the Hackintosh, since it is just off-the-shelf components, if you would get much better performance out of Premiere or Resolve or some application that isn't so like... Because I feel like Apple probably does design its software a little bit just so it's like really only works with supported hardware.
I don't know, but I also don't want to pay Adobe a monthly fee to find out.
What about like Resolve or something? I think there's a free version of that.
I know there's a free version of Resolve, but I know they've started to build in some editing stuff. I haven't looked at it in a while, but Resolve is more about the big focus Blackmagic has is on color correction.
Sure. So, I mean, I'm just kind of curious like how it would perform.
I have no idea how it would perform because I've never done Resolve. But yeah, it's because the big problem is with the Hackintosh in specific. I have to go in and run like kernel extensions. Like I'm going into like very core concepts of the operating system just to get even the machine to run. And I've started to have just problems with like whenever I'm doing editing in particular, it just starts having all sorts of problems with the memory.
Right.
Where I'll get like memory failures, I'll get memory slowdowns, I just keep having problems to where I've been exploring like, okay, I just need to get a new Mac. And then that just led to James and I going on this weird like saga of, well, why don't we tear this thing apart? And like, it's just sitting there. And so it's been kind of fun as we sit there and be like, can we do it? The answer is yes. Okay. How would we do it? What would we need? Can we make it look pretty? Like,
yeah, would there be stuff shooting out the back? Like what?
So like right now, because we discovered, I think last night, Apple's power supplies are so customized we can't use the power supply built into the iMac. So I'd need to get a different power supply. But because of that, we would now have a hole in the back where the power would plug in that we could either, can we convert that into power or like or is that going to be how we run a power cable through and then DisplayPort through?
Right.
Like, we are not exactly sure how exactly it could happen. We know we can make it work. It's just a question of how exactly are we going to throw everything together? What's the game plan? So we're at the point now where it's not a question of can we do it? It is how we do it.
Right.
Which is it's so fun to just open it up and tinker. Like, we opened it up last night just to be like, okay, let's see what's in here.
That's awesome.
So
I'm totally into that.
It's sitting on my desk just because I was like, where would I put it? How would it fit? Because I got a bigger desktop because I was tired of like the tiny amount of space I had.
Right.
And I was just like, will this actually work? Let's start playing around with the RAM. And so it's been kind of crazy because the discussion has literally been like, well, because at one point we were even going, if we're going to start doing this customized stuff, it was like, could we find and buy a logic board from like a Mac Mini,
right,
and buy that instead of buying the full Mac Mini? It turns out that was not cost effective because it was I think what you find out was like only $100 less than a Mac Mini itself, and at that point you might as well just buy a new Mac Mini.
For what?
To buy the logic board for the Mac Mini. It was like one of those cases where it just was not cost effective at all.
It's so new that there isn't really a parts inventory. I'd be curious in like a year or something if there's just like starting to have just like parts laying around, that sort of thing. Then you could probably get one for cheaper because it's like there's some available.
And so that was actually one thing we were talking at, like before it even got to the point, it's just gonna be a monitor. We're like, well, could we buy a Mac Mini logic board and like figure out a way to put it into the iMac,
right?
And just like basically build a custom Mac using new Mac parts and just like jerry rig a system together. And the thing we realize is just like, the way Apple's logic boards and everything are designed, it isn't like I would all of a sudden have PCI slots. It's like there still would be connection issues, and at that point it's just like, well, I would still have to buy like an eGPU and buy this and buy that, and at that point it just starts like the novelty of it is so cool, but the practicality of it is just like, no, it's just like quickly becoming obviously not a practical solution. So that's been a lot of what's going on, is us just like, what parts do we need to buy? Can we buy it? Should we buy it? Can we do it? Yes, no, maybe. It's just been fun to like go back and forth.
Yeah, I mean, I love the tinkering, right?
Yeah.
So
your logic board is getting in sometime this month?
Tomorrow it should arrive. So we'll do some playing with it. See.
So how much is how involved is the logic board thing? Because I'm imagining that's more soldering and sort of tinkering.
Yeah,
at like a technical level.
It's kind of like one unit. So at least with my MacBook, it's the one where it's like the RAM is like soldered to the board. Like everything's like one piece. So you just like basically unscrew it and screw in the new one. And like, as far as I know, that's about it. I'm sure there'll be something that comes up in the process that
like ribbon cables or something, right?
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely ribbon. There's like many cables that go to the display and to the battery and to the like the ports and the keyboard and other like
there's a reason why we're not just going to get rid of the old logic board away.
Hold on to it.
I demand step-by-step photos.
I think it'd be kind of fun to just because I know you did this when you were building
get Skycam going.
Get the Skycam going,
get Skycam running,
and just stream it on what you built a little channel just for whenever you do little stuff like this. We could throw it to that.
Hell yeah, dude.
It's
totally in.
Streams are a setup, but
I mean, or what we could do, James, is you just set up the GoPro and then you just do a time lapse and we upload that to YouTube.
There we go.
Yeah, there we go. No stream, just a YouTube time lapse. But yeah, no, that's been our conversation like the past 2 weeks.
That's kind of exciting.
Just like, can we do this? How do we do this? And it's just been all sorts of crazy because the best solution for like my theme would have been like, like a logic board from a new MacBook, because you can actually get like 20 from the ones where everyone hates the keyboards. There are logic boards like crazy for that.
Right.
But the problem we realize is like, well, there's so much custom silicon in terms of like control over the battery. It's like, will it even work without a battery, or would it just like all of a sudden be like, what's wrong?
Right.
So we were just like, it's probably not actually a workable solution for what I want to do. But No, it's been fun. It's been absolutely like we haven't done anything yet because it's all been like
no, the planning is like way more fun than doing the real thing.
Yeah.
It's like it'll be over so quick.
So that's what we're doing here. Ready to move on?
Yeah.
All right, let's go on to Star Wars. So I saw this and my first thought was, oh God, I can't believe they're doing this. But then I had further thoughts. So I first want to know what your thought was when they announced Star Wars Jedi Temple Challenge. So basically, I think the best description I saw was Legends of the Hidden Temple, but set in Star Wars.
Yeah, it's someone called it Legends of the Jedi Temple. So like, I'm excited. I wish I was 10 years old so I could be on this game show.
When they first announced this, I was just like, oh God, why?
I want it.
Then I thought about it more and I'm like, wait, I really, really love watching the Star Wars show on YouTube.
Yeah.
I think it is the most ridiculous, silly thing
Hell
ever.
yeah, dude.
Because they own the fact that there are people out there like, oh my God, this is so cringe. And they're like, watch me.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, wait. If that's how they approach this, I'm all in.
Dude, I'm super excited.
So it was one of those scenes where I was like, I can't believe they're doing this. And then it became like, oh, I can't wait for this.
Yeah, I'm super excited. I think it's going to be cool.
I'm at best.
I want to know more. But like, man, I'm in. You don't have to tell me anymore. I'm in.
Yeah, so I just wanted to bring that up because I was like, oh,
hell yeah.
This thing.
I'm in.
But yeah, I could easily, like, again, my initial reaction was just like, oh God, I can't believe they're doing this. Like, this sounds like a bad idea. And then I just thought about it more. I'm like, wait.
Yeah, dude, it's me.
Like,
awesome.
it really depends on how they do this, but I might be all in. But other Star Wars things, just to kind of knock another thing out before we dive into The Mandalorian, Rise of the Resistance, a lot of stuff has started to break out.
Yeah.
I don't really know much of what's come out because, as we were talking before, my social media filters have hit crazy because when the leaks were starting to break out, thanks to John Boyega leaving a script out, all of a sudden it was like Twitter was like trying to get all of these like notifications they're getting from Twitter were all about the Star Wars leaks. I was just like, got to the point where I have locked down and muted so much on Twitter that Rise of the Resistance news just wasn't hitting me.
Yeah.
So I've heard that everyone's saying good things, but that's all.
So, I've watched the ride through, and I know what the ride is. I know every part of that ride. I know how it works now. I understand why they had problems now, which we can talk about if you want. I now understand like why it took them so long to get going. Totally fine. But from what people are saying and from what I'm seeing, this is probably the best ride Disney's ever made.
I've heard multiple people say that, independent of each other.
Yeah.
I've seen that. Like, that was my thing. I'm like, I haven't really seen much about specifics of Rise of the Resistance.
Yes.
But enough stuff has broken through my barrier of people just going, this ride is amazing.
Right. So that's incredible.
Yeah, like
I don't know how much do you want spoilery? Like, do you care?
I'm me, of course I care.
Yeah.
So the spoiler free, what was the problem?
So because
I know there was like a transition point.
Yeah, so it is a trackless ride. So it's the same ride system they used on the Haunted Mansion. So the Haunted Mansion, not the Haunted Mansion, sorry, on Tower of Terror. So, and by trackless I mean there's nothing in the floor that is connecting the ride vehicle to, like, it's not dragging the vehicle along. Think of the vehicle as an RC car that is just driving dependent on signals it's receiving from something else, right? Outside source. So it's on wheels and it's moving throughout the space. The reason why they did it for Haunted Mansion was because the ride vehicle has to move through the scenes and then lock into the elevator and then go up and down in the elevator, and then be able to move out. It can't do that if it's on a track, right?
Yeah.
So it needs to be able to move independently on its own.
Yeah, you mean Tower of Terror, right?
Tower of Terror, yes. Sorry.
Because that also, that's fine, but I remember watching Imagineering, watch Imagineering, about how they had to basically get an elevator company to make a custom elevator.
Right.
Like, to just make it go sideways, and then make people not realize that they actually gone from one elevator to another.
Right. So it's the same kind of thing. There's a lot of points in the ride where you're going up and down, and different parts of the ride where you're doing things. And it also makes it so the ride vehicle can do things that you don't expect it to do. Like it can spin around 360 because it's on wheels, right? It's not on a track. So it can move very smoothly and very abruptly in different ways where you don't expect it to. The problem that they had with Tower of Terror was that the radio wave or the radio signals sometimes get scrambled, or they're very inconsistent, because basically what it's doing is the ride vehicle is charging on a base, because it has to charge because it's on a battery. So it's charged on a base when it's not in use, and then it has just enough battery to be able to get to its points and then recharge again. The issue is that with the radio signals, sometimes if they get scrambled, or if you don't receive a signal, the whole ride
shuts down
because the timing's off at that point, right? If it holds, the timing for everything else is off, so you can't have that. So if it's, I don't know how they're running battery wise or what they fixed to make it more consistent. That's why the Tower of Terror has so many. It's like the most downed ride at Disneyland parks. Like it just has a crazy amount of downtime because of the radio signal and the trackless system. So I know that this had, like, before we were talking about this being Indiana Jones and like having problems with the timing.
Yeah. And
I was like, okay, maybe that could be it. But since they're using the trackless system, it makes a ton of sense now why they're like trying to make it so that this doesn't have downtime. The cool part is that it has a lot of different parts of the ride, so that you can have a lot of people going at once.
Because I remember, based off just rough descriptions I've read and heard, is it's not like you're in one quick. It's like a whole story basically. Yeah, so you're not stuck on one adventure. You're going through an entire sequence. So
the ride really starts in the queue.
Yeah,
and I mean that in like. In a sense that's like not like any other Disney ride. So like Disney's all about making the queue more interactive, right? So like while you're sitting there in Indiana Jones, you pull the thing, you hear Indy yelling at the bottom, or like they always make the queue as cool as possible to make you not.
Yeah, I remember them talking about how they made sure there's like either places to sit, there's photo opportunities, so you can be stuck in line, but you want to be stuck in line so you can do these things. Right.
So in Rise of the Resistance, there are different phases to your ride, to your queue experience. So one of them is you're being briefed by the Resistance of like what your mission is and whatever. So it is a Resistance briefing room that you're in with a group of people, whatever, and you're in line, of course, but you're in this briefing room. Then when you go through that briefing process, then they let you into another room, bringing the next group into your briefing room, and then so there's different rooms. So like then as you're doing that, like it's like for Smuggler's Run with Hondo, right? Like,
where they're bringing groups in to meet Hondo.
You meet Hondo, and you're kind of in your group with Hondo, and then you move forward, and then another group comes in to meet Hondo. Like it's not like you're in line and Hondo's just doing his thing, right? So the idea of like, then you go from briefing room to like getting ready to leave, then leaving, then you get like the room shakes like you're in a cargo ship or whatever. Then your ship gets boarded and the door opens up, and it's the cast members are dressed as Imperial officers that are boarding your ship. So then they take you, like you're being captured by the Death Star, right?
That. Yeah.
So the room itself moves.
Oh,
like you're in a cargo ship. And so it moves, like, and then all of a sudden it's like we're being pulled in by the tractor beam or whatever, and then it shakes and rattles or whatever, and then it stops. And then your next briefing room is the inside of the Star Destroyer, where you're being brought in for questioning and for whatever. And then from there, then you get broken out once you're in the holding cell, then the Resistance comes in and says like, we're breaking you out. Come on,
let's go.
Let's go. And then they're like, get into these pods, and they'll take you out to the ship, and that's when the kind of the ride sequence.
The ride starts there, but you've already gone through this entire like storyline initiation, and okay, that's awesome. Yeah, I like that.
Right. So it's again without lines. It's like once you get to the briefing room, it is an 18-minute thing. So the ride itself is 4.5 minutes.
Okay.
So it's roughly 14 minutes of story of you in this briefing room and going through all this stuff.
That's so cool, though, because like the big thing when we went to Galaxy's Edge that you and I both said is that they felt like it was all shopping, not enough like interactivity, and it feels like the story is all let's have a bunch of interactivity and then a Disneyland ride.
Right. So again, really cool, really great. I love that stuff. I've watched it a ton. Pretty much because I'm very interested in that stuff. B, because I've been watching Imagineering Store like a madman. So I'm always interested in figuring out how they did this shit.
Yeah.
But it does seem like there's different rooms in different areas and they move. And like I think they have two different briefing areas that they're taking people through, and then you're entering through. I'm not entirely sure because I'm not. Again, it's hard to tell when you're not in person. You can't really see what's going on. But super cool.
Can't wait. Disneyland is next month, I believe.
Yes.
But yeah, I'm already sitting here going 2020 trip to Disneyland.
Well, that was kind of the funny thing. So my family tries to do a holiday thing every year because I have a lot of family that live in Hawaii, and so they usually come out for the holidays and like hang out and do whatever to see everyone, because like everyone's either in California for the most part. Everyone's either in California or Hawaii, so it makes it a very easy trip to like just have everyone come over.
Have everyone come to one in central place.
Yeah. So this year they're coming out in February, like middle of February, and they're like, "Hey, let's do something. Hey, we're thinking about going to Disneyland." And then I was like, okay. And then they were like, "Hey, we should all go to Disneyland." And I was like, okay, cool. Family trip to Disneyland? That'd be dope. And my dad is very much of the thing of like, I don't want to go with anyone else. I want to do my own thing, experience my own thing. I was like, dude, you can. We're just gonna like, just
put on the Akamura family T-shirt and then go off.
Yeah, I mean, like that was the kind of thing where it's like, my dad doesn't really get it because my dad, and I understand his mindset too. It's like, why would we go with people when you go with friends, it's never a thing of we're gonna do everything together. It's like, okay, we're gonna split off and do like little things here. Like me and you are gonna do this.
Yeah.
They're gonna do that, and we'll meet up later. Then my dad's thing was like, then why wouldn't we just go by ourselves if we were gonna do that anyway? And I was like, because it's just the idea of like everyone going together as a family. Like,
it's everyone's going as a family. You break off into your groups, and then you just have times that you coordinate to meet up. Like we're all gonna get dinner. We're all gonna get
dinner or lunch or like hey, we're getting in the line at this. Does anyone want to come with us? Or, whatever, right? You just have a text chain going. So.
Yeah, no, that's awesome.
But I'm just, like, I would highly recommend, even, like, I know you don't like spoilers, but I would highly recommend watching it just to understand, like, the significance of this. Because I got more excited to ride it. Because I know it's going to be totally different when I'm in there. I got more excited watching the ride through than I, like, because originally I was like, okay, cool, I'm going to go see it and like be excited. I'm now jazzed to like go and experience this.
Yeah. I think your dad's right though, that when it comes to Smugglers Run, that we need to do it again, but you and I need to fly.
Yeah. Not the best.
We need to coordinate it to where we make sure the best people who could fly the ship are the ones flying the ship.
Hell yeah.
Which actually might be you and not me, but still.
I could fly both captains.
Pilots. We'll just like have you straddle both sides, and then we'll be good. Moving on, Mandalorian. So because we took off a week because of Thanksgiving, we have 3 episodes of Mandalorian.
Yes.
And
so I know the last 2 episodes have been kind of like divisive with people. I loved them.
I really enjoyed them, but I also at the same time was like, I think these have been the weakest ones so far. That's not that they're bad.
Oh, see, to me, I think they're the strongest ones so far. So like, this is why this is so weird. Because to me, the last 2 episodes have been the most Filoni episodes of all time.
No, like the moment the credits came on with episode 5, and it's like written by Dave Filoni, and it was directed by Dave Filoni, I'm like, yeah, this makes sense.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, that makes sense. This is a Filoni episode.
Yeah. They go to Tatooine. He's sitting in Chewie and Han's booth.
I know a lot of I wasn't bothered by that, like, at all. Because everyone's like, oh, it's just playing on nostalgia. I'm like, okay, how many people besides like me and Chris would have picked up on the fact that it was Docking Bay 35 and the ones that they launched from was Docking Bay 34? I'm like, the people who are going to remember that are the people who are going to enjoy it.
Yeah.
The average person would not pick up on that.
The fact that the droids are running the cantina. Like no
droids. It's like, oh, hey, droids.
Droids, they're running cantina. It's awesome. I love it. I also love the idea that like big name actors are showing up and doing like cameos essentially, and then bouncing. Like I love this stuff. Yeah, I to me the strongest episode is episode 4, by far. I think the most hype moment of this season has been episode 3 with the Mandalorian showing up at the end of the episode.
Oh god, episode 3. Well, first let's go with episode 3. First off, the big thing that got everyone excited was realizing that the director is the one who's doing Kenobi.
Yeah.
So, and this is, I know you and I talked about it briefly, I think in a Facebook thing, but it's like, it seems like what Disney's planning to do with some of these series is they realize, like, the problem with, say, Rogue One, as much as a fun movie as it was, if you look at all the director problems, quote unquote, that Disney has had, or Lucasfilm has had, is that they get these directors who have done like an indie film and then they did a blockbuster, and then because of like the buzz around those films, Lucasfilm was like, hey, these might be good talent to grab. And there's 2 people in particular that hit that mark, and that is Trevor Rowe with Jurassic World, and then Gareth Edwards with Godzilla, and then one gets Rogue One, and then Trevor Rowe gets what became Rise of Skywalker. And looking at the production issues that they had to do a bunch of reshoots with Rogue One, a lot of the theory going on is it's because there's some talk, you see some people, of how the biggest problem Hollywood has right now is that it's either you do a very low budget film or you do a very big budget film. We've lost this middle ground where you can learn and make mistakes.
Right.
With a mid-budget film, I think what's happening is Lucasfilm has found a way of where, hey, TV. And so that's a good testing ground, because how much do you want to bet that Deborah Chow got the Kenobi position because of episode 3? I would bet a lot of money.
I would think that she was in contention for it for a long time, and this confirms
this was exactly. I'm like, they're like, she might be on the good one, and then they go to Filoni and Favreau and they go, how was she on episode 3? And they're like, oh, and they give their praises, they look at the final product, and then they go, okay, we are comfortable moving forward. And I have a feeling that's the thing, because also some people have theorized that because this is the first time Filoni's done live action, is how much of this is also trying to groom Filoni to move into live action for Star Wars films.
Right.
So, but outside of that aspect of it, it was a really good episode.
Yeah.
I love that episode.
Dude, my favorite thing to come out of that episode was the...
what are they going to do with the kid?
No. My favorite thing to come out of that episode was the heavy armored Mandalorian that they've dubbed Ham. Have you seen that? I
haven't seen that bit, but...
So in the credits, he is titled as, I think, Heavy Artillery or Heavy Armored Mandalorian.
He's the guy they get in the fight. He gets in the fight with, right?
Yeah, and he has the Gatling gun. So everyone's like, can we just call him Ham? He is now Ham.
Okay. So that's how it works usually in Star Wars.
I love it. It's great. But yeah, I think the only part about that episode that bothered me, the only part, was the Iron Man salutes at the end.
That was an odd bit, yeah.
Where I was like, why? Why do you need that? But I love every other part of the episode. I love with them starting and ending with the ball bit. I love that. I think that's great. But yeah, I think episode 4 was like the one where I was like, I love this. I love the direction of the show.
I loved what they did with Baby Yoda and how they were, like that whole sequence with the community. Like the quiet moments were some, I think, really solid bits.
Yeah,
yes.
I think to me the stuff was like, it's the idea of, okay, you just kidnapped this kid and everyone in the galaxy is looking for you. What do? You go to some backwater planet. It's like, because everyone's like, why would he do that? Like, what? I was like, dude, think about it. If that happened to you, what would you do?
You would go
somewhere as far as possible.
Yeah.
Like, just to hide and try to figure it out.
Because the reason why I watched it and I was... my concern had less to do with the execution of the episode. Like, I still thought it was, like, not as good as the first 3, but it was still good. It's one of those cases where it's like, I say it's one of the weakest ones so far. That's not heavy criticism when it's still a good episode. It just so happens that I don't think it's one of the better ones.
Sure.
Whatever. still good. It was, are we going to start falling into too much of this
Monster of the Week
bit? Because it also, where, like, they had the weird romantic tension, which I think it worked.
Yeah.
But that happens in some shows when they're episodic, where you'll get this
one-off
right. thing all the time. And I was just like, I hope this doesn't kind of become how then this is where I would say it was one of the weaker episodes. Right. It's more of a concern of, if this becomes how it happens, if this happens all the time, or he goes somewhere and there's this girl and they both are kind of like, oh, hey, there's a bit of a connection. Plus, I feel like did you get a vibe that she had some combat experience?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. I got this vibe where, like, oh, she also ran away.
Yeah.
If this happens again and again in later episodes, then that, as much as this is still a really good episode, it foreshadows what could become a problem down the road.
So to me, there's two things. One, I agree with you that it could be a problem coming down the road. To me, I think these last two episodes have been really, really important for The Mandalorian as a character development study. I think that both the kid in this episode and the Gina Carano's character and Cara Dune in episode 4 are like really important foils to have for The Mandalorian.
I think they're good foils. I also, and I realized this watching episode 5, they have been laying the groundwork to have these characters come back and have been already established in a way where it doesn't necessarily feel overly forced.
Yeah, or shoehorned in, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, to me, it's the thing of like, okay, Gina Carano's acting was not great.
No.
But I think it works for for what her character is and what she's used for. I think that's fine. To me, it's the idea of him finding a kindred spirit and finding someone that he can relate to, but also someone
a fighter who's also hiding.
Right, but also someone that does not have the same moral code or system that he has. Like my favorite conversation in that whole episode is when she's like, "So you can take the helmet off." Like, what stops you from taking the helmet off? He's like, "I can't put it back on." She goes,
"Yeah, like
so." Okay, and like that back and forth is a conversation that like totally valid and totally like her point of view isn't wrong and neither is his. Like it's not anything bad or anything like that, but like they have different point of views that they like it shows like the different mentalities, and I think that's really important to have. Like him taking the kid and like helping the kid out on his first mission, I think is like really important. Like he's kind of a softie.
He's kind of a softie, but also they've laid the groundwork for this in the fact that you learn he was orphaned because of the Clone Wars. This has been his home because he got taken in.
Yeah.
They don't give an answer whether or not he was originally from Mandalore. Like, that might be something we'd uncover later. But it seems like every time he does this is because he sees himself. Like, I was the orphan kid.
Yeah.
I'm not going to kill this kid.
Right.
Oh, I was trying to figure out my own way, and then the Mandalorians showed me this path. I can do it for this guy who's on his first hunt. Yeah. She's a kindred spirit. We both are trying to find a quiet place in the chaos because of our actions from the past.
Right. So, like, I love those elements of it. I think the problem is with these episodes, and why most people have the problem with these episodes, is because we know it's a 8-episode season.
Yeah.
If it was a 24-episode season,
this would feel normal in a 20-episode show.
I think people just expect it to move faster because I think, again, this is me. I think most people are overly focused on the Baby Yoda stuff. To me, the Baby Yoda stuff isn't the most important part of the show.
It's the overarching plot. It isn't the plot of the episode.
Right. No. Well, not even that. Like, I think it's the Baby Yoda stuff is the stuff that's driving the series.
Driving everything forward, but it isn't driving each individual episode.
Right. The Mandalorian is driving each episode, and his story is the most important. Like, that's why part of me thought that when he's gonna, like, when the bounty hunter shows up on the planet to kill the kid, I thought he was just gonna kill the kid. I honestly thought that could happen.
Yeah,
because I was like, oh, he's gonna die, and then it puts the Mandalorian on this different course now, right? It like changes the course of this whole series.
I honestly think by the end of this season, that might be the last time we see Baby Yoda.
No, confirmed by Favreau.
Oh, is it in season 2?
Yeah.
Baby Yoda.
Yeah.
You can't get rid of that merchandise, baby.
No. But and again, I'm very sad that Favreau said that, because he was saying that they're going to explore Baby Yoda origins in season 2 and like stuff like that. And I was like, okay, great.
But I kind of like the fact that we still don't know the name of the species, and there's a part of me that wants Lucasfilm to troll us on that forever and ever. How can they explore the background and keep the trolling up?
Yeah. I don't know, but like, I love the show. Yeah. I love it. I think it's great.
I look forward to it every Friday.
Yeah. I think that I came in with very different expectations than most people did. Like, I think most people are looking for like the bombastic action kind of show, and I'm like, that's not what this is.
I love the fact that they didn't do that. I love the fact that they're like, nope, it's a spaghetti western.
Yeah, it is just this dude trying to find his way through the universe, and it's great. Yeah. I'm totally about this.
And this is, as a Star Wars fan who's always wanted them to just let the universe, like, explore the universe and let it be its own thing. This feels like them going, yeah, we can do that. Yeah. We can let the universe kind of just breathe. And this show is, we're still tied into the bigger, grander scheme, but it is not afraid to just let the universe breathe. Yeah. So, yeah, no, I've really enjoyed it. I really did enjoy that last episode.
Yeah. May not win, man.
No, like, the moment she got shot, I was like, yeah, I'm like, she's the kind of actress that you either leave her in as a red herring because you know she's the kind of person to be cast for a role that would continue on, and that they did this just to establish this other arc. And so she got shot. I'm like, yeah, I can see them doing that as red herring, or we'd all have expected her to continue on, but now she got shot. It's just kind of like...
It's like Taika Waititi.
Yeah. And then that end shot, and I'm like, oh, nope, that other one was the red herring.
Yeah. It's, that has to be Gus from Breaking Bad, right?
Maybe. I can see,
because he's still,
because we know there's an Imperial connection. We know he's later in this season because he hasn't appeared yet.
Well, yeah, and we're already we have 3 episodes left.
We have 3 episodes left, so it could be him. There's also, I was wondering if it was going to be Carl Weathers' character, Grief Karga.
Oh, coming back.
Yeah,
maybe.
And kind of being like, I need your, because they had the fob, right? So it's like, I need your help to take down the Mandalorian.
But it could be her fob.
No, that's what I mean. Is it like he was
dead. Well, we don't know.
We don't know. But I wondered if he was trying to track her down, being like, I need someone who can take down the Mandalorian. Right. So I could see it being him. There's also, I saw some people theorizing that it is a certain person out of the Sarlacc pit.
Oh, I don't like that.
I don't think it's that. Like, I don't think it's that.
No.
Especially since if you get deep into the Aftermath trilogy, we do know that Boba Fett's armor did emerge from the Sarlacc pit, but we don't know where Boba Fett is or if he emerged from the Sarlacc pit. Right. So, yeah. If someone did appear in Boba Fett's armor in this series, there's a very good chance that it's not Boba Fett. Right. Because there's a lawman on Tatooine who has taken the armor, and that's all we know. But yeah, no, I've been enjoying Mandalorian. I can't wait for the next episode. I'm looking forward to this.
You know what I like too? I like that they don't do previews.
Me too.
Very into that.
Yeah. The one thing I really wish they would change is really just like a silly personal thing I would want to switch. And that is, they do the Lucasfilm logo, and then they do that Star Wars thing where they use music. Yeah, with the helmets, where the music is like... Yeah. Yeah, whereas I was like, okay, they created new music, and it doesn't sound like... It doesn't evoke Star Wars to me, but whatever. I want that flipped. I would love it to be like the Lucasfilm logo for black, and then it cuts straight into the Mandalorian episode itself.
True, I can see that.
Like, that would be my personal preference. Throw that Star Wars scene at the very top, do your recap, then cut to the Lucasfilm, then cut to the episode. Right. But then, that's literally, that's just like, that's one of those things that I would totally do.
I thought too. Amy Sedaris was a weird choice.
Yeah, she was. I kind of liked the character, but it was also kind of like
I thought she was a little misplaced, but
yeah,
whatever, it's fine.
But
I like that she had pit droids.
Yeah, I love the pit droids, and I love how he's just like no droids.
And that's another Filoni element too that like I feel like it's getting more and more prevalent with like a new generation of Star Wars creators
pushing the idea that the reason why people were like no droids isn't because of something with the droids, it's because they were survivors of the Clone Wars. No, that's actually been.
I know, but like my point was just like the prequel stuff.
Yeah, that's totally a Filoni thing. Bringing the prequel thing is totally a Filoni thing. But no, that's actually been something I noticed is that Star Wars has been trying to push. The reason why there's an anti-droid bias is literally it's because of the Clone Wars. Yeah. And it's just like, oh, that makes a lot of sense. Yes. Like the reason why the bartender's like, no, we don't serve their is because he's a. I think he was either a veteran or he'd been orphaned by droids or something. It was just like
no, it totally makes sense.
Makes sense.
But my point was that the pit droid thing is a Filoni thing to its nth degree of like just little prequel stuff to just like put in there.
No, it was just thrown in there. And reference to Mos Espa.
Yeah.
Like it's like little things where it's like admitting and acknowledging that there's this bigger world that is often ignored by some aspects of the community.
I felt this way since I was fucking 5 years old. Speeders are fucking cool. Because they're like the Endor style speeders are so cool.
I know. But I think they're different because they were sitting on them rather than
leaning forward. But like just that style of speeder is so cool.
And I love how the kid is trying to like show off a bit on the speeder, and the Mandalorian's like, no.
Dude, I like the part where he's trying to wake up the Mandalorian, and he's like, "Are you done?"
You watching that whole thing, and you know the entire time that he's probably awake.
He's probably like just staring at him.
He's just staring at him, just being like, "Let's see what stupid thing is this kid about to do?" Okay, that's apparently the thing.
Okay, cool.
I also love the bit with the Tusken Raiders.
Yeah.
Where they're negotiating, and it's just like, oh, I only see two of them. Well, what do you mean two? Why didn't you ask them? What do you mean? Oh my god! It's just like,
dude, I like the part of like, hey, those were new. They were. It's good.
Yeah, it's a good show. I love it.
Good time.
I think that about does it. So, I guess we're rolling credits. Feel free to like, share, subscribe, do all the things that we're supposed to tell you to do at the end of an episode. We may be playing some Jedi Fallen Order. We may not be playing some Jedi Fallen Order. Depends on whether or not James and I get it working. Or if it gets to the point where we're just like, yeah, it's not working. And whatever.
Fuck it.
Yeah. So, we will see you most likely in 2 weeks. Most likely.
For Last Jedi stuff. Or not Last Jedi stuff. The Rise of Skywalker stuff.
Yeah, some of that stuff is still being figured out, but it should be happening. So we'll see you guys in 2 weeks.